Ooh, I don't want that to be on live. Oh man, here. Okay. Hold on. Yo, let's
Hmm.
Are we broadcasting? Can you tell whether? Yeah, because my like email was just up there.
Oh, I wasn't
Hold
on.
on.
I wasn't on the screen at all. I was in OBS
Okay, hold.
for the last couple
Okay,
minutes.
I need to end. I need to end. I'm gonna end mine.
Okay, I think I just started
Uh,
mine. So let me go ahead and pull it up real quick.
Hold on. Let
Also
me do
promote
this
it.
one. Content. Let me do live. Where's my content? Dashboard content. I'm gonna delete that really quick. Live. Let's delete forever. Live with State Patriot. Delete that forever. Okay, here we go, baby. So now we're gonna go to create. We're gonna go to go live. And now I just gotta get. I want to get a feel for the timing on this thing. Okay, now this I'm gonna maximize this. Because now I'm in OBS, and that's what it looks like, powered by
Yeah.
StreamYard.
Now
Sure,
it shows. Yeah, it shows I'm live. Perfect. Okay.
great.
See here. All right. Looks like I'm all set.
Okay, let me see. I think I should be going live here in a second.
Okay.
Live with Stateless Patriot. My clock is moving, I think. Let me just get on my let me use my LTE to make sure we're live. Yep, Stateless Patriot, that's you.
Perfect.
And then how are you, man?
I'm doing pretty swell, honestly. It's
Yeah.
been a decent year so far.
Good. Couple days into it, and it's everything's working swell for you.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, it's the same old shit, but whatever.
Now you live in the Central Valley, right?
Yeah, yeah. Central
Mm-hmm.
Valley, California, 209 area to be a bit more specific.
The 209, very good. And are you from California originally?
I was born in Salt Lake City, but
Mm-hmm.
I moved out here, the 209 area, when I was young, and haven't really left. But I've been around a little bit, like the surrounding area. But yeah, basically all my life.
On.
Yeah,
It's California's a big place. It's like its own country. I'd be interested.
seriously.
Did you I don't know what you we got a lot to talk about, a lot, but I figure since it's our first team and we're not going to get a ton of viewers, we'll just
Yeah,
mess around for a little while so people can watch this and figure out who we are a little bit and what we're trying to do on our channel. We'll talk some shit about other YouTubers. Definitely want to get into these polls. I haven't looked at them
yeah.
in depth, but I did see Kalinsky's video showing that Biden's in underwater with
Hmm.
Latinos and with young voters. So that's
Yeah.
disconcerting.
Right.
I mean, if you want to, why don't we do top down, man? I mean, big thoughts. Everyone wants to hear a commentary on the presidential election. I mean, these are Super Bowl years, right? Every 4 years is a Super Bowl year.
For real. I mean, it really is. There's a lot of wild cards, honestly, and a lot can happen between now and the election. Obviously, um, I was watching Bo the Fifth Column, and he actually brought up um, a really interesting poll that I think was conducted recently. I forget the context about it, but one thing that I think will actually work in the Democrats' favor is the unlikely non-voter that is not usually accounted for, and that means Republicans that are basically disconcerted and jaded because of the 2020 election and them being upset that Biden wasn't supposed to win it was actually Trump and all that. So there is a chance that many of them might actually sit out the election altogether. And so that might play a factor as well. Like I said, there's a lot of wild cards. Like obviously,
Yeah, not RFK Jr. being the biggest one of all.
yes, exactly. That's obviously going to play a big factor as well. Most people are saying how he's going to take a lot more from Trump, and then
I
there's
don't know about I don't know about a lot more, but maybe
yeah,
marginally more.
yeah.
Maybe it's like 60-40, but I
Well,
I don't
the
see
thing
anything bigger
is,
than 65-35.
yeah, the Republicans are going to need a lot of those independent votes, but I don't think they're going to get them.
Right.
Hmm.
Yeah. I mean, it's. I heard. I did see another video on North Carolina. The North Carolina DNC is just basically giving the primary to Biden. Um,
Yeah, awful.
I go back. Yeah. I'm worried. I mean, people were. I have a bunch of
Yeah.
WhatsApp group chats that I stay in touch with people whose intellects I respect,
Hmm.
and one of them we talk a ton about politics, and everyone's like coming in with predictions this and prediction that, and I just don't know. I don't have any idea
For
what the
real.
hell's going to happen.
Yeah.
I just like I mean I'm not taking anything for granted. You know, I work in
Right.
Hollywood, and putting packages together, as you would might intuitively understand, is like building a house of cards. I mean, at any point in time, one piece pulls out, the whole deal goes to hell.
Yeah.
And so for that reason, I'm just like I have the same attitude towards politics today in America as I do towards deal making in Hollywood. I'll believe it when I see it.
Yeah.
I'll believe I have a movie when
Hmm.
I see money in an account.
Yeah. Yeah. No. Exactly. I think we're just going to have to wait for these next couple months to really. These next couple months will definitely like show us where the momentum is because you got these court cases of Trump's are going to be proceeding, and there's actually going to be they're basically going to be concluding, and who knows how that's going to affect polling? Who knows how that's going to affect the voting base in general, and not to mention uh, what what exactly, not to mention that like the actual primaries themselves are coming up as well.
Right.
But it's just infuriating, like that North Carolina thing. It's like if Democratic messaging is, oh, well, we stand for democracy, and what Trump did was unconscionable, yet they just outright cancel the primaries when there's multiple people other than Biden running for the Democratic primary. For the
Right.
Democratic candidacy to begin with is just it's gross. It's disgusting.
So, yeah, yeah, you wouldn't know it. It's just loaded with hypocrisy,
Yeah.
and I have accepted it. It is the way it is, and I'm
Oh
getting
yeah.
to this in
It doesn't surprise me at all.
I'm getting to this in my upcoming episodes, but
Hmm.
you in order to change the rules of the game, you have to win the game as it is now, right? You
Right.
can't, people. There's that conservative thing. We are a nation of laws. Notice how we haven't heard "we are a nation of laws" much from the right in the last 3 years. So
Yeah.
it's like it's just when it suits them as well. I mean,
Right.
they move. Everybody mows the goalposts all the time.
Hmm.
I'm just convinced that. We need to start thinking in terms of less in terms of 51-49 election wins and more in
Yeah.
terms of 55-45 or even 60-40. And
Hmm.
I think like it just makes me really nervous with the young vote numbers because I have always thought that the young vote is the last frontier of American politics.
Yeah.
And I thought school shootings and student loan debt and all these kids growing up with this resentment, and that's going to be my goal is to create generational resentment
Hmm.
between baby boomer conservatives and their kids.
Yeah. No. And like on a long enough timeline, we win. As progressives, we win. I hear Bo say that all the time. I don't think the issue is whether or not the next like generation, like Gen Z and Gen Alpha, are going to be progressive or not. I think that's going to be very much the case. It's just whether or not they give a shit enough to actually go out and vote and like maintain like the continuation of this bullshit system and just the establishment and what's left of the democracy as it is. It's convincing them like hey, like it just goes back to the lesser of two evils thing. Like yeah, obviously the Democrats are far from ideal, but have you seen how insane the other side is? It really just all comes
Yeah.
down to that, and like, and that's hard to like motivate like younger people, especially like wow, these are the choices that we're left with. So that's going to be, I mean, with the advent of TikTok, we can already kind of see that it is having some effect. Like, obviously, a whole lot more young people are becoming activists and becoming a whole lot more involved politically, becoming a lot more aware of all the just the bullshit going on in the world. So we'll just have to see if that translates into actual votes and doing what I want by rendering the GOP obsolete.
Yeah, it's funny you use that word. I just talked about evangelism being obsolete in one of my most recent videos. I think it was the most recent video.
Hmm.
Um, yeah, I'm getting into so part of my value add or my value proposition in this space is I think I'm really good at political marketing, and I'm
Hmm.
really good at coming up with like slogans and like alliteration and things like catchy little phrases. I mean, let's be
Yeah.
real. There is value in that skill. Especially
Right.
when people are, there's those word clouds that they use now to evaluate what public discourse and what's going on Twitter.
Hmm.
And it's too bad, man. We'll talk about Twitter in a little bit, but it's just too that platform flirts with greatness. It flirts with
Yeah.
greatness, and it never gets there.
It used to be so much better before Elon just shoved it down the toilet. Like it was no like shining beacon on the hill. It was an absolute dumpster fire to begin with. But now it's borderline unusable. There's no way for like new users to really like get started at all. Like you're unless you actually pay for like Twitter Blue or whatever the hell it is, like your reach is basically non-existent. Like mine is dog shit nowadays. It used to be a whole lot better. I mean, and I mean I use it a whole lot more frequently now since the whole Israel Gaza conflict flared up, and that's basically all I fucking post about nowadays. But yeah, it used to be a whole lot more I guess engaging. You come across a whole lot more people, like with your tweets and whatnot. But it's just gotten so much worse. He's fucking ruined it.
Yeah, and I talk about it in that long. You actually reacted to that video where I'm gonna break those episodes down, man. I wish I
Mm-hmm.
had done it from the beginning, but I think my first two episodes needed to be that way.
Mm-hmm.
But my episodes since then could have been broken down, so I'm gonna break those down and kind of organize everything towards the dichotomies. And how do you like those Deterisms? I think I know it seems a
Yeah,
little bit like I think it seems a little bit. It might feel a little juvenile at first.
right.
But the purpose is to create retention and make it kind of like building a pyramid of knowledge, right?
Yeah, it's something that's recurring. I think that's a smart way to go about it because I completely agree. Having slogans or catchy little phrases that does stick with people. Like, I mean, that's a big reason why, like, I got hooked into Kyle Klinsky, for example, when I started watching him like 6 years ago. Like, and I because he would use the same points over and over. He would use this like he had the same statistics and the same talking points, and like would pull them out when necessary if it had to if it related to the topic of the video that he was doing. Is a very useful tool, and I think yeah, in order to like gain audience retention, which he was successful at, and I'm an example. That shit could be used very usefully.
Dickie McGee's axe.
Love that. Exactly. Like,
I love the guy. I love the guy. But, I got to tell you, very happy for him in all walks of life.
yeah.
But, and I expressed this on the leftist mafia in like a chat at one point. I said, the blonde hair, gotta go. Gotta go. He did it.
Yeah.
He did it for Halloween. He did it for Halloween of 2022,
Yeah, I decided
and
to-
like decided to stick with it for a whole over a year now. I'm coming up on. I'm like, dude, and he's got like some lamb chop facial hair going on, and it's like, dude, come on, clean it up. You're on. You're basically on TV.
Right.
But anyway, I'm an aesthetic. There was a time where I was thinking about getting into image consulting for politicians.
Right.
But I thought about that for about 2 phone calls.
Yeah. I mean, I guess it works for him. Like, I mean, maybe Crystal has something to do with that, and like he's married now, and if Crystal likes it, that's good enough for him. I don't know. Maybe he's just like fucking like into like the more shiny hair because it pops out at you. You know. I'm not sure.
I don't know.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna judge the guy. I
Right,
think
of
he's
course.
great.
Yeah.
And I just when I seen him, I seen like he's got some weird tattoos and stuff like that.
Oh,
so he's been
really?
through some phases. Yeah, he was like a car salesman for a while.
Yeah.
Yeah, so he's funny, man. He's
Yeah,
funny. So
he really is.
so what was I gonna? Let's see. I got a note up here about stuff I wanted to talk about with you. Oh, well, let's have some fun since. Well, I mean, Ed, let's keep going. I mean, the DNC sucks. It's not. It's a hypocritical institution.
Yep.
The Republicans are just like vying for vice president.
Basically.
That's going to be crazy who he picks. It's probably going to be a woman. It's going to be like Carrie Lake or some bullshit like that. And
Maybe,
and the media, and I mean, I don't know, like I really struggle with progressive media. I think a reason why, like I just did, I mean, we were gonna, I didn't know when was the right time to get into this, but what the hell, I just talked about it with the Vanguard guys. I love the progressive left, but as you know, my roots are in conservatism. And I believe that the conservative attitude towards the conservative attitude, period, the conservative attitude lends itself more to competition.
Yeah.
And I think that when you look at the left, what do you got on the left that you don't really have much of on the right? Artists. A
Yeah.
lot of artists on the left. A lot of artists. And guess
Yep.
what? Artists don't like conflict.
Oh yeah.
Artists do not like conflict, and that's why, like, I'm working my way up, and I'm hoping people see this, but I'm not worried about getting like foreshadowing too much or overplaying my hand. But eventually, my message is going to be for candidate evaluation. It's not about their identity, okay?
Right.
It's not about. It would be nice to have a minority or a woman in every spot just to make a point and make up for lost time. Great, I love that idea. But at the end of the day, it's got to come down to talent and skills. And here's the big one: commitment. Because
Yeah.
I feel like the unspoken, like, and I'm working on something else. I'm not going to get into it, but it's stirring up a lot of these thoughts. It's a
Yeah.
creative endeavor, and I'm like, what is, like, I know the conservative attitude towards winning. It's kill or be killed. Okay, that's their attitude towards competition.
Yeah.
So, and I'm coming up with this decree: if someone goes to war with you, you have no choice but to go to war with them. Okay, like when the Nazis invaded Poland, they didn't even have tanks; they only had cavalry. And so there's footage of like the Polish cavalry going up against the Nazis. They didn't be like, oh, you're invading us. Like, we're not going to go to war with you, but even though you're going to war with us, like, no, it's not how it works.
Right.
And how many times does Steve Bannon need to tell the rest of America that it is a war? He says it on his radio show. He said it in that documentary with Errol Morris. I can't remember who did it,
Right.
but it was a great documentary. And so my point is getting down to talent, getting down to faces, right? Like, we need to, like, political marketing doesn't just include like buzzwords and cliches and catchy phrases, but it also includes like packaging and who's the talent, who's out front, who's the face of this movement.
Yeah.
We thought it was AOC, okay? You know, I think
She was a superstar.
it's a start.
Yeah.
She still has value, but I'm sorry, she's just not management material. Sure. And I think actually what is required in the rhetoric that I'm going to advocate for is honestly, like, it's going to take a willingness for people to put themselves in the crosshairs of card-carrying NRA members. Like, that's kind of the quiet, like, unspoken, ugly truth about, like, the right gets really aggro and in your face with the left, and the left kind of just sits there and take it, and they do the whole Michelle Obama thing where they go low, we stay high, meaning we don't even respond usually. Something along those lines. And I want to punch back. I want to get in their face and say, you're not going to bully us anymore.
Yeah.
So the candidate evaluation should be about, like, are you willing to say things that might get you killed?
Yeah, honestly, a lot of it really, it's just really impressive when you think about it, because a lot of the issues that actually, like, that stem from, I guess, leftist collectivization is infighting. Like, we would rather argue about this particular leftist streamer or that particular leftist personality having a take that could be uncharitably misinterpreted as problematic, and all of a sudden that becomes discourse for like 2 weeks, rather than, rather than focusing on shit that's important, because and a lot of it, like, nowadays is like, you talk about getting in other, like NRA's faces, or people on the right that are ready for a fight. The left feels like that's beneath them. Like, oh, like, they don't matter, even though, like, they're the actual fucking opposition, not Joe Schmo commie 420XX on Twitter saying something that you find offensive or whatever. You know, it's really, really frustrating. I do feel like it's getting somewhat better, because I will I'll give Elon Musk slight credit, because Twitter has kind of just sunk so low that kind of stuff isn't as prominent as before, because there's just nobody on Twitter anymore, and the kind of stuff that goes viral isn't related to leftists misinterpreting shit uncharitably and whatnot. So that's I know this is a lot less drama. That's for sure. But if the left wants to actually, like, make any progress, make any gains in spreading progressive values and whatnot, and actually combating the vile ideas coming from the right, they have to get over the petty squabbles that utterly don't fucking mean shit. That give you, like, some dopamine hits because they get you some virtue signal likes on Twitter and whatnot. That's just not important. And if we want any fucking progress at all, like, the focus needs to be on the people actually making structural change, whether it be in the GOP or their fascist cronies and whatnot.
Yeah, I think it's two-pronged. I think it's candidates, and I think it's primaries.
Yeah.
I think
Like,
it's
actually
just
get involved.
the primary. Well, it's specific to the primaries, man. It's just like early of an even, or January of an even year. Start paying attention.
Yes.
Start paying attention.
Yep.
And one thing we definitely want to talk about is how much more popular right wing YouTube is than lefty YouTube.
Yeah,
It is
ridiculous
scary, dude. It is scary. I
for
mean, it
real.
is like it's a balancing act for me to work on this stuff because um, I know they're human beings,
Hmm.
but I having been in that culture and rubbed up against the different sub tribes, like the Confederate flag wavers and the gun nuts. I'm not, I'm not like friends with any gun nuts, but I've rubbed
Right.
shoulders with them with school, living in the South and that shit, and I understand
Yeah.
the psychology of it.
Yeah.
Um, but I mean, their refusal to acknowledge the obvious circumstance that the country is in serious trouble. We have huge problems.
Hmm.
Ergo, we need huge solutions.
Yes.
I mean, what's the classic time? I because of my grandmother lived through the Depression. What's the classic story in America of like when we hit rock bottom? It's the Great Depression.
Yeah.
And how did we get out of that? It's like we had the New Deal. We
Yep.
restructured our society.
Yeah.
We took a
No
huge
kidding.
overhaul.
Yeah.
We restructured our society. We grew up. It
Hmm.
was an adolescence. One thing, one thing I'm going to be throwing in the face of every conservative I come across is just like, I don't know. You've got to decide, like, there's three levels. One is to just not engage. The second is to make some sort of wise ass dismissive comment of, like, I'm not going to talk to you, but I want you to know I don't respect you, and I want everybody around here to know that I don't respect you. And then the third is to get up in their face and dare them to hit you. Um, so I'm obviously, not everybody's cut out for that last step.
Right. Yeah. Understandably. Yeah.
But I will say one of the number two options is to say, aren't you late for the book burning? I mean, you
Yeah.
can't mess with that, man. I know the Vanguard guys were giving, and a lot of people were giving Vosh some shit about invoking the Nazi comparison. I think it's completely appropriate. I don't
Yeah.
know why people are holding back on this. I mean, even
It.
from the beginning,
Yeah.
the way he talked about immigrants is exactly the way Hitler talked about the Jews. It's blame.
Yeah. It's funny you talk about how like, yeah, we would need like deep rooted like systemic structural change, which is what the New Deal was, which is exactly how we got out of the Great Depression. Whereas at the time, a lot of people were more a lot of the right wing in this country was more sympathetic with the Nazis, and you get that same exact shit today. Where like if you just take like the historical examples, clearly the more um, socialist esque approach that America took after the Great Depression with the New Deal and all that, it actually resulted in a lot of success. It got us out of the Great Depression. What the fuck happened to the Nazis at the time? It's like on one hand these people are beyond help or they just refuse to see it, but I don't know what it is because like clearly you can see from history that the Nazi route is not successful, and actually creating bottom up change like strengthening the social safety net is a far better path to take, a much better it, like that whole just generally a better position to hold, like evidently.
Yeah, I mean, well, there's a few things that I think a lot of people just don't think about. I talked about
Hmm.
that episode that you reviewed, quantity of thought and quality of thought. A
Yeah.
lot of people just aren't thinking about these things. They don't.
Right.
It's not important to them, or they're. I mean, a lot of I got friends with kids. I got family with kids. Like when you have kids, man, it's over. Like it's work and kids, and then you carve out some time for
Right.
your marriage when you can, and that's their life. And that's why, like, I mean. I don't know. I think there's a lot of opportunity for younger candidates to get involved, but it
Yeah.
might be nice to have some people that it's like don't have a family, like
Yeah.
commit your like this is an obsessive job now,
Yeah.
and that was kind of where I was going. Whereas like about the candidates, it was like I think a lot of people want a candidate that they would either reminds them of themselves or is someone they would want to be friends with.
Yeah.
And I think actually what we need are people that were like, while I'm going to work, do I think that this person I'm voting for is obsessing over beating the right? Obsess.
Yeah.
Obsession is the new standard of leadership for the left.
Yeah.
If you're not ready to obsess, then you're not ready to lead.
Yeah, I completely agree because like you kind of have to be obsessed to be like in the field of politics, like in public office in general. Like if you're not like all about the job, if you're not if your life isn't centered around it and not seeking donor money and shit like that, then th- your leadership qualities are definitely in question. I think that's you're completely on point with that.
The other thing was with respect to, government catching up to, the pace of change. It's like when I remember when I was a kid, business cycles historically were 20 years, and now they're like 7 or
Yeah.
less. So how the hell can a government keep up with that kind of change? And you talk to anybody in the private sector, man, anybody that's in the money business, whatever, like small business, whatever, like any growing business, their prerogative is to anticipate change. So it all comes down to that word. I want to own that word. Like change belongs to us. It belongs to us.
Yeah.
And I also think I'm working my way up to a point of like blame.
Yeah.
I think there's two kinds of blame. I think there's misplaced blame, and I think there's well-placed blame.
Yeah.
I think misplaced blame is an excuse for failure, and I think well-placed blame is problem identification.
Yeah.
It's saying, if when someone screws up and they keep screwing up, it's like, yeah, I'm going to blame John, and we're going to replace John.
Yeah.
And then we replace John, and everything starts to work again. Holy cow, we solved the problem.
Yeah. Yeah. No.
Oh, so I'm sorry, I left you hanging there. So there was a concluding remark.
Oh.
So where I'm going with this is the historical, like, where's the blame at? Where should we place the blame over the next 15 to 20 years? Because it is, whether we like it or not, blame is a useful political tool,
Yeah.
and it's the baby boomer conservatives, man. It's the baby boomer conservatives.
Without question, honestly. Um. Yeah. No. And it's easy to I mean, with capitalism in general, like just directing blame at the like who holds power and how it's wielded and how it's changed over time. Like you could point at Reagan. Reagan was an absolute monster in so many regards. You could blame um, Bush. I mean, honestly, I still think about from time to time. Obviously, I wasn't close to like old enough at the time, but the fact that Gore and Bush were so close at the time shows a lot of like the same exact issues we see today, like the weaknesses within the Democratic, like the Democratic Party. He Al Gore clearly had the better ideas. We would be so much farther ahead on terms of climate change. We wouldn't have. I don't think the Iraq War would have been nearly the quagmire that it turned out to be if Al Gore had been elected. It, it's yeah. There's a whole lot of blame to go around, but like if that could be weaponized in a way to teach others, so that way just, I more I guess most importantly the voting base can learn from the mistakes of the past, so we can prevent that shit. And I mean we just got that shit with Trump. Like if we don't learn from that, then obviously this is going to happen again.
Are you familiar with the cliche "history repeats itself"?
Of course.
You know who said it?
I mean I assume all kinds of people, but who?
Karl Marx. And
Yeah.
the complete quote is history repeats itself, First as a tragedy, second as a farce. All right? 1960, Kennedy, Nixon, repeats as a tragedy in 2000 with Bush, Gore. Then it repeats in 2020 as a farce with Trump, Biden.
Yeah.
You want another trilogy? This was from my most recent episode, but it's I need, I was just kind of blown away when I found that quote, because I had heard it 20 years ago, but I'd forgotten that it came from Marx, and I'd forgotten and I never really thought about it. The social conflict of the Civil War repeated as a tragedy in the civil rights movement.
Yeah.
And as much as it was legislatively successful, you cannot argue that the current condition of African Americans proves not enough was accomplished with the civil rights movement. It created a lot of awareness. It would create a lot of awareness, and it brought the country together. And, having gone down in the South, but all those acts of violence should not have been required for the rest of the country to wake up and know that there was some really fucked up shit going down in the Deep South.
Yeah.
And people talk about, the best rhetorical turn of phrase when the states' rights bullshit comes up with a conservative is talk about, dude, if the federal government didn't have the power to supersede states' rights, you wouldn't have integrated schools. Okay? Yeah. You literally want to take us that far back. You just rely on these arguments, and they say it's one way or another. It's like it's a false binary. It's like it's either states' rights or not states' rights. Well, that depends. I mean, are we talking about fireworks? Are we talking about weed? Or are we talking about murder? Or are we talking about bigamy? Are we talking about polygamy? These kinds of things. So I call it taking the second step. It's superficial reasoning.
Yeah.
It's superficial reasoning. They take the immediate, immigrants, right? Oh, well, they're no good. They're these poor people trying to come into this country, and they're just going to commit crime once they get here. Well, actually, there's a lot of shitty jobs they could take.
Yeah, no, it's actually pretty astounding how regression has become like a team sport to the right wing nowadays. It's like because it triggers the left, or it means that we got to win somehow because we got what our betters have been fighting for years. It's somehow a win, like regression, like, and how far back do you want to go? And like Republican politicians are seeing the consequences of it now because clearly, for example, like Roe versus Wade, overturning that was not possible. So for all the people, all the politicians that were in support of that, their careers are in jeopardy. I think it was in Ohio, if I'm not mistaken, the Republican-led legislator, uh, uh, they they passed a ban on gender-affirming care, and the Republican governor vetoed it because he actually met with physicians and doctors who actually study this field and actually know what the fuck they're talking about. And he decided to veto it because this would threaten lives. This would actually get people hurt. And it and all, like, bless him, like, all it takes is one person to actually like study like what the fuck they're talking about and not pass shit just for cheap political points or likes on Twitter or whatever the hell. It yeah the it's gross how far the Republican Party has gone when regression is seen as a victory, even though it's a detriment to the general public.
Well, you have to remember what their lives are like. I mean, the people that are caught up in, abortion. Let's take
Yeah.
the issue let's take the issue that's going to carry us through the rest of this decade, the social issue. This is going to be the biggest social issue for the rest of this decade.
Yeah.
And that actually, I wouldn't call it silver lining, but it's just hey, I talk about it in I'm going to talk about it all the time. Limitations are creativity's best friend, right? That comes from film school, and you have to acknowledge that now we have this overloaded court. So fuck it,
Yeah.
pack the court. Like people ask you, are you going to pack the court? Yeah,
Yeah.
you're goddamn right. I'm going to pack the court.
Right.
You're goddamn. You're not going to. You're
At
not going to
this
get
point,
unless you're going to get Clarence Thomas impeached, and then we're going to go down the list and do that. You really want to start at that slippery slope?
yeah, no, exactly. And since like, and you brought up like states' rights and how history repeats and versus a tragedy that it's a farce. And now it's getting to the point where like, yeah, since a lot of stuff is regressing back to states' rights and whatnot, like all you have to do is look at like where that got us during the Civil War, because if you read the founding documents of the Confederacy during the Civil War, it was specifically about slavery. It wasn't about government overreach, Nikki Haley. It wasn't about the federal government having too much power and states not having like enough power for themselves. It was specifically stated by several states that wanted to secede from the Union that it was about slavery. No matter how much you want to dress up and pretend it's not, like all you have to do is actually like look at what, like, read what it was actually about.
So you got to check out my episode on the Confederate flag wavers because I went to
Hmm.
school and lived in the South, and dude, you got to do I call it the empathetic arithmetic. Okay,
Hmm.
it's like looking at a crime scene of really violent photos, a murder scene. Okay, you
Yeah.
can let the photos affect you,
Hmm.
and like be like, oh my god, I can't believe someone's capable of this. Or you can step back and be like, okay, this happened. This is this way,
I know
right? So
exactly what
let's
you're. Yeah.
so let's talk about them just as people,
Hmm.
okay? They're rural, uneducated whites for the most part, okay? But in the Michigan protests for Gretchen Whitmer, there was a Confederate flag everywhere
Yeah.
for that protest. It's no
Yeah.
longer a symbol for just the South and those countries that tried to secede. It is a symbol for rural America, for
Yeah.
rural Trump trash, and it's
Yeah.
huge. It's a huge culture. I know
Hmm.
I'm a friend of mine here in California. Her dad is from Fresno,
Hmm.
and he has a Confederate flag in his man cave where he watches football.
Right.
And it's just we live in whether we like it or not, and this is another thing, limitations are creativity's best friend. Whether we like it or not, artists, sensitive people that don't want to get in the ring, but need to at least pick the right people to get into the ring and fight for you, or else we're going to continue to lose.
Yeah.
Okay? Like, um, you know, oh shit, I lost my place. Where was I?
Oh, like people having like actually owning Confederate flags and like owning their.
Oh, so they're usually okay. The protesters, okay,
Hmm.
and think about the Unite the Right rally in Charlottesville.
Yeah.
Okay, these people do not like their lives.
Yeah.
They are miserable.
Hmm.
They are, you want to go to a show, dude? Can't go to a show because it's 3 hours away.
Right.
Can't go to a comedy shop. Can't go to a nice dinner, world class
Yeah.
restaurant.
They're so
Can't do all these
isolated.
fun things that being suburban and urban. And that's where that's where the empathetic arithmetic is. It's like, okay, well they can't help it, but it's like, okay, but you know, they're
Yeah.
still supporting evil. They're still supporting. They
Right.
might not think it's evil, and that's the most important. That's one of the most important things I learned in film school too about storytelling. Is the bad guy doesn't think they're the bad guy. They
Exactly.
think they're the good guy, and that's where all this right wing projection comes from. I
Yes.
see so many right wingers on Twitter talking about lefties as traitors.
Yeah.
I'm like, are you on crack? Like, did you watch the January 6th hearings at all? And the answer is, of course, no.
No. Yeah, they only follow like their favorite right-wing media personalities and
Right.
see what they have to say about it, even if it's total dog shit. Like they could completely like just lie about how the hearings went or what was said or what was going on, and those just completely eat it up. And these pundits, these right-wing media personalities, they don't give a shit. One of my favorite quotes is from Upton Sinclair. It's along the lines of I'm kind of paraphrasing, but it is hard to convince a person that they are wrong if their income depends on them not understanding or them being wrong.
Yeah.
And that's if that's not the entire right wing media like stratosphere ecosystem like in a nutshell, then I don't know what it is.
Well,
It's so pervasive.
the reality is that like we live in a democracy, but people do not
Hmm.
work in democracies. People work
No.
in aristocracies. There are bosses and hierarchies, and there should be. I
Right.
mean, there needs to be managers. There needs to be like executives. There needs to be people that are overseeing the entire company and continuing because in capitalism, it's all about growth,
Yeah.
grow or die.
And you
Um,
said your term was empathetic arithmetic.
yeah,
Yeah,
empathetic arithmetic.
yeah.
Yeah.
I still need to watch your new videos, but I do like that term a lot because, like, you can't like you talked about like how a detective looks at a crime scene, like a murder scene. You can get disgusted by it, or you can actually like soak it in and analyze it. I actually really like that approach a lot because when you're engaging with people that just hold just such backwards, vile, disgusting
Yeah.
views. You can't. I mean, it's easy to look back and just be like all offended, and just be just outright just appalled by what they're saying. But at the same time, they are a person. Like you're interacting with a human. If it means like leveling with them just to make them like understand like listen like your scope of the world, your experience with like people and like society at large is limited, and here's why. Like you're isolated. You go to the same exact places, you see the exact same few people every single day. That's why you're this way. It's easy to see why you hold these positions. Like it's because you haven't seen the other side of it. You just embrace whatever you're fed by your Facebook feed or whatever the fuck.
And the subtext of all that analysis, because I think a lot of people do what you just did, is just thinking about it like that. When you just take the time
Hmm.
to think a little bit more, just like it's like this attitude. Like I'm coming up with these ways. I don't mean to sound arrogant. I don't mean to sound arrogant, but it's like I'm kind of trying to teach the left what it means to be a winner in
Yeah,
America.
there's
In
nothing wrong with
America,
that. Like don't you
and
want to win?
I don't I'm not like I haven't won everything in my life, but I won a few things.
Yeah.
And also, I mean, for that reason too, I know what it means to lose and that resentment and
Oh
seeing
God.
somebody else win, like that's
Right.
important to talk about. And artistic people
Hmm.
need to know. Artistic people need to know how competition works, the psychology of competition,
For
because
real.
whether you not like it or not, they're going to show up. The competitive people are going to show up on election day, and guess what? Everyone on the right is competitive.
Yeah.
Everyone. They wouldn't be conservative if they weren't.
Right.
And another thing to throw in any conservative's face whenever you kind of like want to just stab, just kind of like get up in their face and knock them knock them between the eyes with some
Hmm.
words and then make a point and get out of here and be like,
Yeah.
because I think we should embrace superiority and you do it with this one sentence like I don't think I'm a superior citizen to you because I'm so awesome. It's just that your citizenship happens to be such shit.
Mm.
It's
Yeah.
just like you put up Trump, and
Yeah.
then he's an insurrectionist, and you're saying he's not an insurrectionist. You're saying he's a Christian.
Hmm.
You're saying he's not a complete piece of shit when you look at the way he treats people, and you keep putting him up,
Yeah.
and you want me to respect you.
Yeah.
I mean, do you respect a child? Do you
No, for
respect a
real.
child? Do you respect a child throwing a hissy fit? Not just a child. A child listening, you can kind of respect, but a child throwing a hissy fit? No, you don't respect that person. And here's the subtext I was getting to is like we all kind of based on your analysis what you just said, we all kind of know that put a little bit of thought into it that they're all children.
Yeah.
Just because someone looks like an adult doesn't mean they are an adult.
Yeah. That's
Okay?
one of your yeah.
And but we still treat them like children. without acknowledging that they are children. I mean, do you agree with this? The mainstream media, like, or just the tendency of the country is to always cater to conservatism.
It
Conservatism
really
is thought
is.
of, conservatism is like, we need to reach out to the conservatives. We need to explain to them why we need to explain to them why change is required at this moment. And it's
Right.
like, well, what are they offering? Like, what
Yeah.
can what are you know?
Right. Yeah, like what do we get out of that? Like seriously, they are like fundamentally holding the country back and yet we've learned nothing from them. I'm really tired of this like neutrality bias that's been prevalent in like mainstream media for like the longest time where they like approach an issue and think that like it like immigration for example, like it's like there's an equal debate to be had like on either side like clearly no like it it yeah no I completely agree and like you're talking about yeah like they are really they're actual children. I have a couple uncles myself that are hardcore Trump conservatives and they act like children. They believe
Yeah.
everything that's fed to them on their
Yeah.
Facebook feeds. They're glued to Fox News several
Yeah.
hours a day, and they're just completely isolated. They don't they're too they don't interact like it with pretty like that many people at all. They've never really been to the like the city. They're not in a
Or
very
everybody
diverse
that they
area.
or everybody that they interact with is pretty similar and similar to them.
Exactly, and so it's like a self-reinforcing, a bias validating feedback loop, like day in and day out, and it's frustrating. So like, I think there are definitely people that are too far gone, but I think the people that we can reach. It is important to use the methods
Oh
and
shit!
that
Oh shit, dude.
what's that?
We'll have to do this as we can. Maybe are we record? Yeah, he says I can't hear either of you guys. My sound is on. Can hear other videos, not you two.
Hold on one second.
Oh man,
I can
yours
hear.
is working.
Yeah, I can hear us. Yeah, I can hear us loud and clear on
Oh okay.
my stream. Yeah.
Oh okay. Cool. All right. Sweet. All right. Thank God, because we're
yeah.
this is. I'm like this is good stuff.
yeah, for real. Yeah. Yeah. No, mine's good. I got 5 people watching on mine. Hello, if you're watching, by the way. Renee Nisbet says, "What are your thoughts on the YouTube channel Zihan on geopolitics?" I've never heard of that
No.
channel, but
No.
I'll have to check that out, I suppose. But yeah,
Yeah, oh yeah, the lefty like slap in the face that and then leave, like the club hit. Is like, you know someone's conservative or whatever, and they kind of hint at it. The Trump trash, they'd like to kind of put it in your face a little bit with the whiff.
yeah,
Like, oh yeah, because the government, oh yeah, and
it's fun to poke
so,
at them a little bit, but be kind of like vague about it too, like kind of pry it out of them, like like oh, like, what exactly do you mean about that? Where do you actually stand on this or that?
well, that's a
That's
good, and that's a good way. That's a good approach for most people, I think, is to just
oh,
ask them questions.
yeah,
Keep
exactly.
them talking. It's not my style because
Yes.
I want to fight and I want to like let them like I want to get in their face.
Yeah.
But for most people, I think that's what it's like. Understand, like a child. Like treat them like a child. Like ask them questions. Get
Yes.
them to think. Get them.
Get them
It's such
talking.
a better.
Get them
It's such a
talking.
better. It's also a better way to learn is to get there on your own by thinking through things as opposed to just being told what the answer is.
Hmm.
But anytime you want to just kind of
Exactly.
give conservatives a taste of their own medicine with the condescension is you say, something along the lines of, hey, you know why conservatives aren't more popular in Hollywood? And they're going to be like, no, like, and then you say, because empathy is the purpose of storytelling and conservatives suck at empathy.
That is so fucking spot on. It's Yeah, I absolutely love that. Like, if you give someone enough rope, eventually they'll use it to hang themselves. If you just get people talking, all of a sudden they're just going to start saying crazy shit. But the biggest thing about it is, what's really fun about it is you start to like if you get them talking long enough, you start hearing the talking points. You don't really hear a person talking. You're not actually engaging with someone. You start to hear a talking point machine just start just parroting what they fucking heard. The original thoughts and like critical thinking just starts to evaporate the longer like you listen to conservatives talk, for instance.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Um, so do you have to like because you're not in the most blue part of the state, so do you probably have to brush up against some Trumplicans on a regular basis?
Sorta, yeah. Like where I was in high school, big fucking time. Like it was the foothills. My town was like 7,000 population.
Hmm.
But I'm in right now. I'm near a mid-sized city, so it's like I would say purple, but it leans blue. The city I work in does have a Republican mayor, but um, you do get those conservative. They're not as prevalent, but when they pop up, you fucking know. Like you can tell.
Um, do you have any kind of? I mean, I don't know. I don't like I said. I don't really know what the hell's going to happen this year. So, do you have any 2024 predictions?
Um, well, I think more and more it's kind of safe to say that more and more states are going to start banning Trump from the ballot, and I don't think the Supreme Court can is really going to do much on the side of Trump. I think they're going to let a lot of um, these bans, I guess you could say, of Trump from the ballot in these states stand. So I think that if enough states do that, I think it might affect the Republican primary in a significant way. There's really no telling this early on, but if enough states do it, and if Nikki Haley like continues growing in the polls, like like the current trend shows, it's very possible that that she could win it if he's banned on enough ballots. But I don't think it'll get to the point where it'll be enough for Nikki Haley because it's mostly going to be blue states and Democratic legislatures that ban him from the ballot, and those states will end up going most likely um, to Nikki Haley. So there's that, but like who knows? That's one thing. Um, there is the New Hampshire Democratic primary, which is a whole kerfuffle as it is. There is a possibility of that going to Marianne Williamson. Like we'll see. Time will tell. But like they're that their party in that state are not not happy with the Biden administration for sure. Um, so those are just off the top of my head.
Yeah. My expectation, not prediction,
Hmm.
but my expectation is that it'll be Trump Biden,
Yeah,
um, as is. I don't think we're going to lose Biden. I think he's okay. You know, I
right.
think
Hope.
they got him in a lifestyle. I hope he's not doing any international trips. That's the only thing I worry about is him like,
Yeah,
because you know those things take a lot out of you. Like my dad's 80 now, and
right.
you know it's dude 80's old.
Yeah,
Um,
don't need him catching the flu
the
or
cold,
any shit
yeah,
like that.
exactly.
Yeah. Yeah, I can only just
So
keep my fingers crossed that he stays in good health. Like as sick of him as I am, I mean, just to get him another term, like at the bare minimum, like I do think like if he does win a second term, I don't know if he'll yes, so it is possible we might see a brief stint of President Harris, but
Mhm.
who knows? Like like I think the biggest goal right now for progressives is to just register the vote, and especially if you're in a swing state, make sure you vote out the like all the Republicans you can. Like just get them out of any swing state or any state that um, even leans red. And I think because we were supposed to see a red wave in 2020, that didn't manifest. I think we still might see the same thing for down ballot races, local races, state races, and whatnot for 2024.
All right, hold on 1 second. I'm gonna try something. Let me know if my audio goes out.
Okay.
How's that? Is my audio still on with you?
Yeah, I still hear you the same.
Okay, I think I just finally turned on the audio for my channel.
Oh, I gotcha for sure. Yeah, that was the
Yeah.
issue. That was the issue I had. I fucking what did I change? I think it
It's
was.
the OBS. You have to change the
Yeah.
input for the audio.
Yep.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I know because I use this microphone and it's a whole thing. Because I record, I have a green screen studio that I use for my recorded episodes, and but when I'm doing live stuff, I do it at the office. So
Yeah. Yeah. I had to make sure that uh, my audio input capture was on, and it was coming through the StreamYard thing, because when I first tested it, all I could hear was you. My audio wasn't coming through at all, and so I just had to make sure that was changed, and now apparently it's picking up both of them. And I made that mistake before because a few years back I actually did like a little like mini stream with a friend of mine who was in college, and it was a progressive and like was asking me political questions. But when I listened back to the recorded thing, you can't hear me at all.
so
Yeah,
brutal.
yeah, but yeah,
Well, I'm glad the guy sent me in the chat. So now, whatever, I'll just direct people to your recording or whatever, and
yeah,
it's fine.
yeah, for sure. Feel free to promote it and everything. I put it up on Twitter. I posted on my personal social media, and
Cool.
yeah, it was good ass conversation for sure.
Yeah, man. Anything else you want to talk about? I was trying. Oh, yeah. One thing that is timely that I want to make sure I brought up, and I talked with the Vanguard guys a little bit about this, is lefties and sports.
Yeah.
And I think there's, you know,
Mhm.
there's two things that I would encourage anybody who watches this who's a lefty and they end up talking with someone about sports and how they don't like it. And I'm like, you know, just give the NFL from Thanksgiving to the Super Bowl and do the NBA postseason or deep into the postseason, like towards the finals and stuff. And then, maybe the Olympics, maybe the World Cup, maybe whatever,
Yeah.
anything else after that. But know what's going on and go down some rabbit holes on YouTube, especially about Magic Bird. I've been referring everyone to go see Winning Time. I'm devastated that they canceled the series after 2 seasons. It sucks. But it was about the Lakers in the 80s with Magic Johnson. And I'm going to do an episode about 1979 because that's when they met in the NCAA finals, Magic versus Bird. And then, Magic obviously went to the Lakers, Bird went to the Celtics, and then they really built the NBA throughout the
Yeah.
80s. It was that rivalry. And that's one of the counterintuitive parts of sports that I think like people who aren't into sports might appreciate is that your intuition would have you believe that fans and the sport benefit from having a different champion every year, right?
Right.
Well, if you look at ratings and you look at actually like when sports are the most popular in America, it's when there are dynasties established or like it's
Yeah.
or one or two, three teams max really dominate the sport. For example, the Steelers, the Colts and the Patriots
Yeah.
all represented the AFC in the Super Bowl for like 15 years. It was
Yes.
ridiculous.
Yeah.
So and as people like the Patriots, it's like They're the Yankees of the NFL. It's not complicated.
Yeah,
That's also the nice thing about sports is it's not terribly complicated.
it's not.
Um,
No, no, yeah.
but football, I do appreciate though that football is football. Like a lot of people struggle to understand the concept of fairness, like what is pass interference, what is a catch,
Sure.
these kind of annoying things. But I would just encourage everybody just start paying attention to the NFL now that the season is here.
Yeah,
College national championship game is Monday. Make sure you catch at least the second half. Like it's one of the great parts of our country. No
yeah,
one else has the sports culture that we do.
yeah.
In most other countries, it's just soccer, and
Right.
here we've got like 20 different sports that everybody loves.
Yeah, no, 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 no kidding, for sure. I mean, as insufferable as a lot of sports fans may tend to be, I totally agree that like competitiveness, like if it's done in like a really sportsmanlike way, I think it'd be very beneficial for like the left in general to pay attention to.
And I
In
tell you
addition,
what might be a fun way to start is like a handful of sports figures.
yeah,
There's some really amazing people. I mean, you could start with the worst one of them all with O.J. Simpson. I mean, like that's I mean, hate to start it on a negative note, but
right.
one I mean, that's a demarcation in our history. It's like before OJ and after OJ.
Yeah, no, for real. Yeah, and I mean, there are definitely a few figures that could be uh, deemed as questionable, but it like there.
Actually, one thing about that though is that's actually maybe what I want to. Well, and I know you. I want to. Sorry, I keep interrupting
No,
you,
you're
but
good. You're
this
good.
is this is it's they're not just super talented. They're not just big,
Right.
fast, and strong.
Yeah.
Okay, they're super competitors.
Yes.
They obsess over winning. They have to win. Michael Jordan,
Hmm.
notorious asshole. His teammates were like, I respect the guy. He's the best player ever. I love playing and winning with him, but he's a dick.
Yeah.
He's a dick.
Right. Yeah.
So you got to understand, like, when people are obsessed with winning, like it's difficult for them to relate to people who are not. You
Sure.
know.
Yeah. Yeah. And when you're at that level, you kind of do get bragging rights, like honestly, and like a lot of people, like they can stick their nose up at that all they want, but like it's kind of true. I mean, look at Brady. He's not like the most um the figure to idolize like across the board, but like, he has like the highest rating. Like I think he has more pass yards than any other quarterback in history. He has more. I think he has more
He,
rings than any other
he
quarterback as
has he
well.
has yeah, he
He's
has
like the top of the
all.
top. Yeah.
So he has basically all the postseason records. He's
Yeah.
not. He doesn't have all the regular season records. Manning passed him
Okay.
on touchdowns.
Okay.
But he has 7 rings. No franchise has more than 6 rings, but Brady
Hmm.
has 7.
That's right.
So he did it without Belichick, which is a huge feather in his cap. So that's one other thing. But I'm going to talk about that actually. One of the reasons why Tom is such a confident guy is because he has 4 older sisters. So I
Really?
don't know if yeah, I don't know if you know this about developmental psychology,
Uh
but
huh.
um, feeling loved is very important to when a kid is like an infant.
Big
And
time.
so imagine having not just one mother like that held you and made you
Yeah.
feel loved, but imagine having 4 other women. So constantly being held, constantly being
Yeah.
looked, having eye contact. Like
Yes.
most celebrities have that little fear in them or insecurity of like, do I deserve to be this successful? Do I deserve this much attention? You don't get any of that with Tom, and I think that's why.
Yeah. I completely agree because I'm actually kind of like that. Not like Tom, but like the other example because I grew up as the oldest of 3 boys. So like it was like uh, I totally understand exactly what you mean. Um, but um, yeah, yeah, I totally agree. There is definitely like I mean, just to like for men in general, like if you have sisters, generally, I think it is actually like completely accurate to say that your overall attitude towards women is either a lot more cynical or it's just not as toxic and entitled as a lot of men tend to be. I'm not exactly sure of like the psychological details of it because obviously I'm no expert, but there is truth to that.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah, no, we should talk about like the differences of men and women cuz and I'll save it for later, but
Yeah.
I'll tease it with I say that I argue that if there were to be such a thing as a benevolent dictator,
Hmm.
got to be a woman.
Yes.
Got to be a woman.
No,
Can't be a
I
can't be a man.
could not agree more. Can we just have a goddamn actual female president already?
No.
That's not Pelosi. That's not fucking
I had hopes for.
Harris.
I'm embarrassed. I'm embarrassed to say I had hopes for Liz Warren, but she's a librarian. She's
Uh,
not. I mean, if it's so sad because Hillary started out really progressive, and then over time she just got institutionalized.
yeah.
And if she, I mean, I actually did like her. I found her to actually have the. She was obviously smart,
Mhm.
and it felt like she was tough. It felt like she could hang her own. She wasn't intimidated by smart men, and I think she would have been a if she had stuck with her progressive values.
Yeah.
Then maybe the point at the end of the day though, like the only reason she had a platform was because her husband was president.
Yeah.
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 And that started this stupid trend of like celebrity is the pre-qualification for running for president now, like
Yeah.
Oprah and The
Give me a break.
Rock.
Yeah, give me a
Oh
break.
my God.
Yeah, I did have hopes for Elizabeth Warren as well, but I was glued to everything politics during the 2020 primary, and I did not like the way that she treated Bernie Sanders during the primaries as well. Honestly, it was around this time 4 years ago. That was the last time I was like truly I guess, excited about politics because Bernie was at the top of the polls everywhere, and things were looking like just a, so bright. Everything was looking so bright until Super Tuesday of 2020. And then like literally like a week after that, like everything started shutting down as a pandemic. It's so like crazy how the fucking universe works, you know?
Well, one thing that we in terms of, I think we're going to talk about a lot about candidate selection
Yeah.
in these live streams. One the big lesson that I think we're going to keep coming back to, for at least I am, is the thing that I was talking about earlier, like the nice guys finish last idea. It's like you tried with the nice guy with Obama, okay,
Right.
and then we got Trump. Okay. So
Yeah.
enough with the nice guy. Enough with the person that reminds you of
Agreed.
someone. Like enough skills, talent, commitment.
Yeah. Get someone in there that's not afraid to say, "Oh no, that's completely bullshit," and here's why, and is not afraid to call out like specific people and like the rhetoric that they spew. Like, no, I'm gonna clear this up right now. You know, not just like, oh well, we believe everybody's entitled to this and that, or like we think differently about this and that because we're good people and blah 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 blah. It's like no, like like actually dismantle shit.
All right, man. So I found out that my audio is working, but yours is not. So mine's gonna be
Weird.
dead. So you are the host for this episode.
Okay.
Um,
Works for me.
yeah.
Works for me.
So great job hosting.
Thank you. Yeah.
um,
So,
yeah, yeah. Well, thanks for having me.
oh, sure. Thanks for having me. I mean, gee. Before we did end the call, though, I did want to ask,
Yeah.
in case we don't talk again, I'm sure we will like before it actually comes.
Yeah, I've
But
got some. I'd be down to talk again soon
yeah.
before I leave, but I'm traveling starting Monday, and I won't be back for a little while.
Okay, for sure. But as of like right now, who are your okay? Who are your um two Super Bowl contenders?
Oh, that's easy. It's the right now. It's the 49ers and Ravens.
Okay, yeah. I
Yeah.
was
Even
literally about to
though
say the exact same thing. A rematch of
rematch
fucking
at Christmas. Yeah.
yeah. I
Yeah.
think it was 23rd,
Yeah. They
24th,
whipped them out. They whipped
2014.
their ass. It was like 12 or something like that. Yeah. They whipped their ass.
Yeah, they had
Yeah,
the
man. I mean, I think
horrible.
the only thing to watch out for is that it can get a little weird when you rest your starters on week eight. Yeah, it's week 18 now. Yeah, week
Mhm.
18. When you rest your starters on week 18 because they don't have to win this game, and then they're gonna get another week off,
Uh-huh.
and they're gonna play a team that just came off a win that and
Right.
so that's 3 weeks. That's 3 weeks away from playing. So you can get
Yeah.
a little bit out of sorts. And if they jump on you early and get an early lead, it can get awkward. The last time the Ravens finished with the number one seed in the regular season, they got bounced. They went one and done. They lost to the Titans
Mm.
and in at home obviously. So I don't want to see the Ravens. I hate the Ravens more than
Right.
any other team. I hate the Ravens more than any other team. I like every other team. Every other team in the
Right.
league I like more than the Ravens. They're I used to hate the Steelers, but I hate the Ravens now. Um, Harbaugh is MAGA and stuff, you know.
Oh, that's gross. Oh man.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I
But
mean,
Belichick is MAGA too. So
right. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, that'd be interesting to see again, like a rematch of the Super Bowl. I think it was in 2014. But yeah, no, I mean, like, if you're gonna sit out like your starter, like, I mean, because Brock Purdy got hurt during that, I think it was that no, was it the Ravens game? Whatever the game was on Christmas, I think it was the Ravens. And as long as he's getting a whole lot of practice, then like, it should be good to go. But like the issue is just like as long as he's not getting injured, then like they are 100% a Super Bowl contender for sure.
yeah, man, it's gonna be fun. Hopefully they get bounced. I'd love to see the Bills instead. That's the team that I would really love to see get in
Right.
there. Bills Niners would be so much more fun. But
Yeah.
the Ravens are just killing on all cylinders. So we'll see how they
Yeah.
do in that first game.
For real.
But anyway,
Absolutely.
I gotta run. But this has been fun, man.
Absolutely.
And stay cool. And depending on your schedule, we could maybe try to squeeze one more in
Sure.
before I leave. Since this didn't work on my end, it might be nice to try to maybe Sunday
Right.
night during the game or something like that. Um,
Yeah.
but yeah, man, take care of yourself.
Absolutely. It was good talking to you, dude. I'll see you next time.
All right, bye bye.
Have a good night.